Hey, once again, Dean the General from Three of a Kind with a Jimi Hendrix Lovefest imaginary compilation, associates, and selected album tier list. We're going to begin with 22 songs fitting onto one CD. Fire, released on the amazing debut album. Have You Ever Been to Electric Ladyland? Second track on his best album. Hey Joe, A-side of Jimi Hendrix's first single, released way back in 1966. Crosstown Traffic, also on side 1 of Electric Ladyland. May This Be Love from Are You Experienced? Stepping Stone, an A-side from 1970. The wistful ballad, One Rainy Wish, can only be found on the Experience's second album, Axis Bold as Love. The Wind Cries Mary was an A-side released in 1967. 1983, A Mermaid I Should Turn to Be also appears on Electric Ladyland. Purple Haze is definitely Jimi Hendrix's most famous original, released as the A-side of his second single, 1967. Long Hot Summer Night appeared on both a B-side and Electric Ladyland in 1968. No Wedding had 2 songs recorded by The Experience. The first is She's So Fine, also from Axis Bold as Love. 51st Anniversary is a rare gem from the B-side of Purple Haze, also found on the Are You Experience CD released in the 90s. Drifting originally came out in the early 1970s, now found on First Rays of the New Rising Sun. Perhaps the best obscure classic on this list. Castles Made of Sand is also on The Experience's sophomore album. Hey Baby, New Rising Sun is among the most important songs on First Rays. I Don't Live Today closes the first side of Are You Experienced in both US and UK versions. The Electric Ladyland version of Burning of the Midnight Lamp was originally a B-side, also released in 1968. Little Wing is a standard, covered by many artists, originally found on The Experience's second album. Bold as Love closed out that underrated album. The Stars That Play with Laughing Sam's Dice is easily the worst song Jimi Hendrix ever released, but it's worth checking out anyhow, rarely on any compilation album. Finally, the Star Spangled Banner, which Jimi Hendrix recorded at Woodstock in 1969. The second part is comprised of major associates in alphabetical order by last name. Brian Chandler, better known as Chaz, was originally the bass player for The Animals. He became Jimi Hendrix's first manager and producer. His unfortunate departure in 1968 meant that Jimi was left with a corrupt manager. Billy Cox was Jimi Hendrix's bass player for approximately 2 years. Edwin Kramer was the primary engineer during Jimi Hendrix's entire career, known as Eddie. George Allen Miles Jr. was called Buddy, drummer for the abysmal album Band of Gypsies. Mitch Mitchell, whose real name is John, was the drummer for Jimi Hendrix for most of 1968 through 70. No Wedding was a bass player who also sang, an important component of The Experience. He was among the greatest musicians Jimi Hendrix ever played with. Part 3, selected discography. Are You Experienced was released in the UK first, followed by an American that is arguably inferior. The best version is the 17-track CD. Axis Bold as Love was released approximately 6 months later, somehow following up the legendary debut in fine style. Electric Ladyland is Jimi Hendrix's greatest album ever. However, it is credited to The Experience. Smash Hits is a compilation album that also appears in 2 different versions. The best known is the American one. Following the breakup of the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Band of Gypsies formed. Their live album was a contractual obligation, and the worst product ever released under Jimi Hendrix's name for a long time. As everyone should know, Jimi Hendrix died in 1970. There were many posthumous albums. We're only going to look at some, beginning with Radio 1, which has been superseded by BBC sessions. However, the original album is great as well. First Rays of the New Rising Sun came out in the 1990s, comprised mostly of tracks that Jimi Hendrix wanted on a 4th studio album. The Jimi Hendrix Experience is a box set released in 2000, featuring both live and studio tracks. Live at Monterey followed a few years later, covering the legendary Monterey Pop Festival 1967. Winterland was recorded a year later. Not much to say about this album. During the 2010s, the Jimi Hendrix estate released 3 albums that feature mostly unreleased tracks, starting with Valleys of Neptune, which is probably the best of the 3. Next was People, Hell, and Angels. Miami Pop Festival was recorded by The Experience in the late 1960s. Finally, the 3rd in the trilogy called Both Sides of the Sky. Check out 3 of a Kind for other videos, including tier lists, comment, subscribe, like. Once again, thanks for watching.